Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salamu ala Rasulullah. We continue reading from Imam Al-Ghazali's Jawah al-Qur'an wa the Juz of the Quran and spells. We began reading from Surah Al-Isra, journey at night, the night journey, if you will. And we said it has another name, the Surah of Bani Israel, children of Israel. Nothing about, well, this is about the children of Israel as children of Yaqub alayhi salam, and ultimately the Jews not as an ethnicity, not as a constructed modern nation state, not because ultimately it's about the theology. Just think about Muslims. The Prophet Muhammad is a descendant of Sayyidina Ibrahim salam through Ismail, not through Ishaq, not through Isaac. But it's not really the Muslims. It's not, there's no claim of a bloodline for us as a community, and of course not. Talk about from the Southeast Asia. You talk about probably Mongolians, and you talk about the Northern Europe. You talk about Africans, all part of the Ummah, and ultimately the Arabs, the Al-Arabiya al-Lisan. Yes, there is that. The Arabs who emerged from Yemen, from the southern part of the Arabian Peninsula, and spread north. The very first verse is the only verse we said that addresses the story of the Isra, the journey at night. And if you try to understand some of the things, maybe you need a little bit of the hadith. There are many narrations about the journey at night. Some of them definitely include parts that are not sound. Some of the narrators themselves are questionable. This is why one probably should stick to that which is sound, agreed upon, as much as possible. Maybe as an explanation, further explanation to what we have said in the last session, I like what Imam Sha'rawi, rahimahullah, the late Egyptian scholar, said. He said that if you go, for example, from, I think he said from Cairo to Alexandria, something like that, the stronger the vehicle, the stronger the mode of transportation, the shorter the distance. So, for example, animals versus cars versus aeroplanes, every time you have something stronger, the distance that you cover is the time itself, of course, is shorter. So when this strength is about the omnipotent, about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, time is practically zero. Time is practically zero. This is why the Prophet ﷺ was taken in that night and brought back to Mecca during the same night, while it was known that probably need a month to travel using animals, whether you talk about camels or horses. It's a long distance. The essential story in the hadith, in the hadith literature, essential stories that the Prophet ﷺ, was kind of asleep, like his heart is awake, and he knows what was going on around him. In one particular night, three persons came. Those who took anthropomorphic form, they were angels. They split open his chest, washing his heart with the water of Zamzam, stuffing his heart with faith and spirituality, and before taking him. And if you talk about the animal that was used, this is not an animal from our own world. Let's put it this way, al-buraq. And I would like to think for a minute about the buraq. The etymology is ba ra qaf, like barq, and that's lightning, as if the name is intended to convey that particular message, that it moved very, very fast. And of course, the Prophet ﷺ could have, as we said in the previous session, that he could have been taken from Mecca to heaven directly, but part of the journey was also intended to go to Jerusalem, to Al-Aqsa Mosque, which was barren, no buildings. The space, Al-Aqsa Mosque, the name of the space, for all the buildings were novel, or are novel, as Mujid al-Hanbali said in Al-Usul al-Jalil fi Tarikh al-Quds wal-Khalil. The Prophet ﷺ led the other prophets in prayer at Al-Aqsa Mosque, signaling that this Ummah now is responsible for this mosque. And we said that the mosque belongs to the Ummah at large. If we talk about the political dimension in the sense of sovereignty, it is Palestinian. The custodianship is Jordanian. It is Hashemite. The Hashemite royal family has been taking care of Al-Aqsa Mosque for more than 100 years. The Awqaf department is part and parcel of the Jordanian government, and they serve the Muslims, and not only Palestinian Muslims. And they try to maintain the mosque. I say they try. There was a time when there was no issue with the Awqaf maintaining the mosque, taking care of it. It's not a matter of budget. There's absolutely no anything that the mosque needs. And we know that the Hashemites will provide for the mosque. It's the political obstacles imposed by the Israeli occupation. After all, Al-Aqsa Mosque is part of East Jerusalem, part of the Old City, part of the West Bank, and according to international law, it is occupied, and it should be, along with the Gaza Strip, these areas should be part of the Palestinian state. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. سبحان الذي أسرى بعبده ليلا من المسجد الحرام إلى المسجد الأقصى الذي باركنا حوله لنريه من آياتنا إنه السميع البصير. Then the narrative shifts to Prophet Musa عليه السلام. وآتينا موسى الكتاب وجعلنا هدى لبني إسرائيل ألا يتخذوا من دوني وكيلا. And we gave Moses the scripture and made it a guide for the children of Israel, stating, do not take besides me any other trustee of affairs. For if you take anyone other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as a trustee, it's shirk. people don't understand, and when they make alliances, when they become formally part of an alliance, often, especially if they are very small in every respect, they will be that alliance might be to their detriment. It's not in their favor. We have seen how the United States dumped Zelensky of Ukraine. One day they might dump Taiwan, so the Chinese will take back Taiwan. This America first doesn't mean there will be second. Things could change and could change dramatically, especially when you talk about the end of the empire as something that happens. It happened to the Portuguese, it happened to the Spanish, it happened to the French, it happened to the British, it happened to the Dutch, it happened, and it could happen to the Americans. They're not going to disappear, but just like Britain. ذرية من حملنا مع نوح إنه كان عبدا شكورا. Oh, descendants of those we carried with Noah, meaning in the ark, he was indeed a grateful servant. Remember when we have this selection, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose Adam, Noah, the family of Imran, family of Abraham, and family of Imran, that's the family of Mary. Peace upon them all. إن الله اصطفى آدم ونوحا وآل إبراهيم وآل عمران على العالمين. So here basically Nuh alayhi salam, a second beginning, if you will. A second beginning. First beginning it's Adam. Second beginning it's the people who were saved on the ark. This is the one. Descendants of those we carried with Nuh alayhi salam, meaning in the ark. And Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam, his family, that's a third beginning. Now we talk about spirituality, we talk about faith, we talk about theology, we talk about Islam in the universal sense, submitting to the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then the family of Imran, that's the family of Maryam alayhi salam, and ultimately her son, the word of God to Mary, Jesus Christ, peace upon him. And that's where it ends. That lineage ends there. And mentioning the word lineage in the Qur'an, the lineage of Jesus Christ, peace upon him, never goes beyond son of Mary. Never goes beyond son of Mary. Isa ibn Maryam. In the Gospels, we have two lengthy genealogies. It should not be the case. With differences, it also should not be the case. They cannot both be true. And now some of the verses that Imam Ghazali, of course, did not choose them because it was not an issue then. Maybe just one more comment. Probably we can keep going back. And during the Mi'raj, during the ascension, so the journey at night includes the part from Jerusalem to heaven. One might bring from another part of the Qur'an. For example, ثم دنا فتدلى. we talk about Sayyidina Jibreel alayhi salam, though there are those who would say that it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it cannot be the case. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When Abu Dhar radiallahu anhu asked the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, did you see your Lord? Did you see God? He said in one version, Nur anna ara, a light, how could I see it? Or how could I see him? Another version, Ra'aytu Nura, simply saw light. And the same thing is confirmed in the Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim from the narration of Aisha, mother of the faithful Mu'mineen, radhiyallahu anha. And there are other companions who have the same position as narrated in Sahih Muslim, including Ibn Mas'ud and Abu Hurairah. And there were no alternative explanations or interpretations amongst the companions. When Sayyidina Umar al-Khattab arrived in Jerusalem, of course, we have the pact of Umar with Patrick Sophronius, assuring Christians of the sanctity of their holy places and the freedom of worship. There are many different versions of the pact of Umar. Just stick with the shortest, you'll be on the safe side. Because some of them obviously reflect added conditions later on. Later versions include colloquial Arabic. Later versions, at least one, includes the Ottoman script. And this is that the Arabs do not use really. At any rate, just stick to the shortest version and you'll be on the safe side. I hope that one day we'll be able to speak about the pact of Umar ibn Khattab, maybe separately. So when Umar ibn Khattab went to the mosque, of course we talk about the space. He himself helped cleaning the mosque, and of course the companions did the same. The Christians used it as a dumping ground for a long time. There could be some theological background, of course, for this. And the whole area was knocked down, not only the area of the mosque. I say this, the whole area was knocked down. There's a prophecy attributed to Jesus Christ, peace upon him, in which he said that no stone will remain on top of each other. And I take it because the Gospels were written sometime after the year 70. I take it as a record of what really happened. And the walls of the city changed over the years, and we know also that there's not even one shred of evidence about Solomon's temple, if you will. So I think weaponizing archaeology, um, whereby you'll always find differences between Israeli Jewish archaeologists who are academics. For example, Tel Aviv University, more than once, they differed with Israeli antiquities authorities. So the Israeli Antiquities Authority, they have a political position. They practically see things that no one else sees, not their own people, not their own academics. Their professors of archaeology are not on the same page with the probably politicized. Um, I would not exclude anyone from the possibility of the inventing, things or sticking to things. But there was Professor Martin, and a Christian archaeologist in this case, who studied with an Israeli Jewish professor of archaeology, Mazar, the father. His daughter is also an archaeologist at the Hebrew University. And Ernest Martin, wrote a book about the forgotten temples of Jerusalem, and he said that based on Josephus' narrative, the Jewish Roman historian, he placed the temple in the Ophel area south of the old city today. They call it City of David. We call it Wadi Hilwa, but the idea is it's part of Silwan, immediately south of the old city. I think it's very important to remember this, and no one ever pinned the exact location. No, okay. There are no remains. There are no remains. Even when they speak about western parts of Jerusalem, like in the hills of West Jerusalem, many miles away to the west, we know that it's still even that much. There's no. They say that Prophet David, Prophet they might have visited that place. Might have visited. Of course, they could. Of course, might. But there's no. Even the King's Garden surrounding the old city, Israeli archaeologists, they situate it way further, simply many miles southwest of the city. If you know the map of Jerusalem, and you know the German quarter, still it's beyond that. Just think also of the old train station. Of course, it's not in use anymore at all. Part of the history of the region. In Hebrew, they call the area Emek Rifaim. It has nothing to do with the walls of the old city in any sense. But the municipality is bent on destroying Palestinian homes in the Bustan area near the Gihon Spring, Ain Silwan, really. At any rate, many details. Many details. So Sayyidina Umar al-Khattab helped cleaning, and he did ask Ka'b radiallahu anhu, where should I pray? And he suggested that they would pray north of the rock, and the story goes that Umar al-Khattab said that this is the influence of Judaism, because Ka'b was originally a Jew, but he moved forward. So This would have meant that they would pray in the direction of Mecca, but the rock will be in between. But Umar Khattab moved forward and he prayed in the southern part of the mosque after cleaning it. In fact, we know that Umar Khattab also built a mosque within the parameters of Al-Aqsa Mosque Haram al-Sharif. Yes. So back to Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam. I think I said that this shift in the narrative means the Muslims are the fulfillment. They are the culmination. It's the message. It's the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's the Qur'an, and therefore the Muslims. Because when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam led the prayer, it is the Muslims who historically, ultimately went, like Sayyidina al-Khattab and the companions. We have two companions who are buried in the Bab al-Rahma cemetery. Shaddad bin Aus and Ubadah bin Samit radiallahu anhuma. So this cemetery is as old as Muslim presence. And of course we have the Yusufiyya on the other side of the road, just north of the cemetery of Bab al-Rahma. And it has the burial place of rulers from Egypt, the Ikhshidis. It includes the Jordanian army martyrs who were martyred during the 1967 war. Northwest of the old city, just a couple of minutes from either Jaffa Gate or the New Gate, we have a massive historical cemetery. Muslims continued burying their dead in that cemetery until 1948. Then thereafter, of course, they were not allowed to bury there, and the municipality created a national park on the premises of the cemetery, and ultimately the scandalous permit to build a museum of tolerance. This is Rabbi Heyer from Los Angeles, who built a museum of tolerance on top of the Muslim cemetery, and Israeli newspapers mentioned that they removed, they exhumed 400 graves to make room for the Jewish Museum of Tolerance. And we don't know where they took these remains. Palestinian Muslim families went to one court after the other until they have reached the Israeli High Court, which approved the municipality's action, justifying it as simply, well, they already gave the permits. This is not the first time that they abuse Muslim cemeteries. They also abuse Christian cemeteries. They have abused mosques, and after 1948, they have abused also churches. But mosques, some of them were turned into taverns, bars, cafes, museums, like in Beersheba, in Al-Lajjoun in the north, a carpentry, a barn, just name it. And of course, municipality offices further north. So when we talk about the corruption in the next verse, and we warn the children of Israel in the scripture, you will certainly cause corruption in the land twice, and you will become extremely arrogant. وقضينا إلى بني إسرائيل في الكتاب تفسدون في الأرض مرتين ولا تعلون علوا كبيرا. Inshallah, we'll continue with these two rounds of corruption. We'll talk about them in some details, inshallah, in the next session. Until then, subhanakallah wa hamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.